Hi friends, so welcome to my lecture 36 on the helicopter dynamics class. Today I am going to discuss momentum theory again, and today we are going to derive expressions for the induced inflow V and at the rotor disk and also the power required. I am Dr. Ranjan Ganguly. Now let's get back to the flow field and recall that there was the rotor. It generates a thrust T. The induced velocity at the rotor disk is given by V, and the points 0, 1, 2, and 3 are there, and the pressures are P0, P1, P2, and P0 again. So these are the ambient pressures, P0. So the equations we derived till now are T equals m dot W, that's the thrust. We also saw in the last lecture that T by A was P2 minus P1 equals half rho W square, and W equals to 2V. So we also see that the total pressure in the fully developed wake is going to be P0 plus half rho W square, and this is same as P0 plus T by A because half rho W square is T by A. Similarly, we can calculate the pressures at different stations. So P1 is going to be P0 minus half rho V square, and P2 is P0 plus 3 by 2 rho V square. And these can be then written in this form by using the formula for V with respect to W and then the equation we used in the previous slide. So this is the pressure field which actually takes place on the flow field of the rotor. So here the pressure is P0, then it becomes P0 minus 1/4 T by A, P0 plus 3 by 4 T by A, and far downstream P0 plus T by A. And also the velocity goes from 0 to small v, and far downstream to V. So there is clearly a pressure increase across the disk. There is a small lowering of the pressure from P0 here and an increase here, and the total effect is essentially T by A. So now let's turn our attention to the induced velocity. So we know that T equals m dot W, and m dot is rho AV, W is 2V. So from this I can write T equals 2 rho AV square. And from this I can solve for VH. VH is root T by 2 rho A. So that's from T equals 2 rho AV square. And we put the subscript H here to indicate that this is the induced velocity for hover condition, because of course this is going to be different in climb condition and in forward flight conditions and so on. And so here VH is root T by 2 rho A. This is the induced velocity. Now this equation is extremely important so that one should memorize it, and it tells you a lot of things which we will discuss later. We'll see the induced velocity is dependent on the thrust, which in this case is equal to the weight of the vehicle or the helicopter or the drone, the density of air. So if you are not on earth, it will be different. If you are at on top of a mountain, it's going to be different. If you are on sea level, it's going to be different. And also it's dependent on A, which is dependent on R. So A equals pi r square, where R is the radius of the rotor. So it's going to be dependent on the radius of the rotor. So VH is the velocity induced at the actuator disk so that thrust is generated by the rotor. However, when you are trying to produce this thrust, which is of course a positive because you need this thrust to hang in the air and balance the weight, the rotor consumes power. And momentum theory allows us to calculate the power required to induce this thrust T. So how do we do that? It's actually very simple. Remember that power equals thrust into the velocity. So we get T into root of T by 2 rho A, which is the expression we just derived for the induced velocity. Now typically people express this in non-dimensional form, which we are going to do, and the non-dimensional form comes out to be much more compact. So let's start with the expression for the thrust coefficient Ct, and remember that thrust coefficient is T by rho a, then rotation speed into r whole thing squared. So this is a non-dimensional parameter. So now we can write Vh by this non-dimensional parameter, this velocity parameter, as lambda h. Now this parameter is actually equal to the tip speed of the rotor in hover condition. So we are essentially dividing a velocity by velocity and obtaining this non-dimensional parameter, which is sometimes called the inflow ratio or the induced inflow, and we use the symbol lambda to actually write this out. So then this is going to become 1 by rotation speed r root T by 2 rho a, which is the formula for Vh. Further simplifying this, we get this expression here. We drag the 1 by root 2 out of this square root and we bring this rotation speed term inside, and immediately we see that this is Ct, and therefore I can write lambda h equals root Ct by 2. This is a very important formula worth remembering if you are in the rotor area. So lambda h equals root Ct by 2, and Ct equals this expression here. So how you use this in any helicopter problem is that if you are in this particular flight condition, the thrust is equal to weight. Okay, and then you have all the rho a, rotation speed, radius. You can calculate Ct and you can immediately obtain lambda h. And if you want, you can dimensionalize lambda h in terms of meter per second or feet per second by using the rotation speed and blade radius. So now let's get the equation for Cp. Now Cp from the definition is P by rho a into rotation speed radius cube. Now P was T into V. Okay, so I write TV here, and then what we do is that we compare this expression here with the expression for Ct, and immediately we realize there are some common terms. So I can bring Ct here and I will be left with V by rotation speed into R, which is Ct into lambda h. Therefore I can write Cp as Ct 3 by 2 by root 2. Remember, lambda h is root Ct by 2. So if I bring that here, I get Ct 3 by 2 by root 2. That's a very important formula. Now there are some more expressions which will help us understand the physics of the rotor. We can see that P by T equals V, and this is root T by 2 rho a. So the induced velocity is equal to the induced power per unit thrust for this rotor. That's something which is very important. So essentially what this equation tells us is that if I want to generate power for a given thrust, this number should be as small as possible. Okay, and therefore the disk loading, that is T by A, should be low. And here power loading is defined as T by P. So the fact that disk loading should be low is very important, so that this is low. So effectively what this means is that to generate a given amount of thrust, say it is thrust corresponding to 5000 Newton, I must generate, or I must require as low power as possible. Therefore P by T should be small, and therefore T by A should be small. Now looking at this equation carefully, there's not much you can do about T except make the weight of the vehicle small, which is of course always a good thing. The second thing you can do is increase A. So typically for helicopters, T by A ranges from 100 to 500 Newton per meter square. And interestingly, the helicopter has the lowest disk loading and is therefore one of the best vehicles in the VTOL category. Now we again see that there are ways to reduce T by A. The way is basically to have a high A for a given thrust. Now high A can only be generated by large radius or large diameter of helicopter rotor, and you see that any of these helicopters typically the rotor has a dimension which is as large as is structurally and dynamically possible. That is typically the best in terms of the induced power generated per unit thrust. Now, if we compare the helicopter with other VTOL capability aircraft such as jump jets, tilt rotors, and so on, we will find that the helicopter will come out as the best. And in all the different cases where the induced velocity is typically larger, the hover performance gets compromised. So that's a trade-off you have to do. So as far as this particular flight condition is considered, having large diameter rotors is the best way to go. So we'll end this lecture here. I will see you in my next video.